of Casual Discussions with the boys.
Hiya, champ. How was school today?
All right, get your jokes out now. Can you fix the suit?
So cranky. You want a juice box and some string cheese?
You really have that?
Alrighty, welcome back to Casual Discussions with the boys. We're up to episode 21, and we are doing Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a good one because for the first Ant-Man movie, we actually didn't have most of the guys on. I think it was just me, Malik's, and Alvarez. So for this one, it'll be good to have all the boys on. Once again, we're doing our little retcon split, and we're actually starting off with Caleb and David for this one. Good to see you, boys. How you boys doing?
Doing well. Loving to be here.
Yeah, nice. All right, so we'll jump right in to our first segment, which I've just dubbed Phase 1. And in this, we just say put together out of the cave, and I guess if this movie be worthy. So essentially, what you thought after you first watched this movie, and then moving on from that, what aspects of it made it worthy for you, or what positive things came of it. David, we'll start with you.
No, I don't have an opinion. No.
All right, Caleb?
My classic move. No, I didn't get to say this on my last, when we first did Ant-Man, but I'm actually a big fan of the Ant-Man movies. In Avengers, the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I wasn't a fan of Ant-Man in that version. He just wasn't interesting to me, but for whatever reason, Paul Rudd really amps up the material for me. I'm a massive Paul Rudd fan, so anything he's in kind of really spices up the material, and also just the family-friendly approach that Peyton Reed brings to the series really makes it work for me. Like, it's not anything experimental or exciting, but it's just enough to make it interesting and enjoyable. And so I feel like it just has all the right elements in it to make it work. In saying that, it was hard because this movie came out straight after Infinity War. And I know, like, I was reading, they were saying, this is like, Infinity War was like that hard dinner you got to get through, and this is the dessert. But the thing is, I don't have questions after I eat my dinner. I'm like, that was a good dinner. I want to move on to my dessert. But I had a lot of questions after Infinity War. So coming to this, I'm like, it's really hard for me to fully embrace this film at this point. And as well as that, I also found it hard, and I'll go into this more later, science talk isn't interesting to me. Like, a whole film based around people talking about quantum physics, whether it's real or not, in like their language they're speaking, it's not interesting to me. So while I enjoyed it, I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, but as time's gone on, I feel like I've enjoyed it a lot more, and I appreciate it a lot more, because I've learned to accept the parts I didn't enjoy, but the parts that I did enjoy, I've learned to enjoy that more. But yeah, I'll go into more later, but there's a lot of mixed feelings about this one, but yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, mixed feelings. Yeah, actually, I have thoughts on the science talk as well. But I guess we'll get into it later. Big chance.
Boys, first of all, shout out to Dave for using my typical dessert analogy there. I appreciate that. Just a nice... I've got a really good one coming for the Endgame podcast. I've been working on it. So when we get there, I just can't wait. I'm so excited to finish off, just to land that plane, just to be like... we started it with Avengers, went into Captain America Winter Soldier, and we're just going to land that dessert analogy right there in so we'll get that's just get everyone hyped for that podcast. So I'm super keen. Anyway, back to this movie. I'm really like, I'm just torn with this movie. Like, to be honest with you, like I said to the boys before we got on, this is probably the only, other than Far From Home, which we'll get to later on, this is the only other Marvel movie that I only watched one time ever, which was at the cinema. So I liked it at the cinema. I actually really liked it. These are the movies that my wife loves. I think she likes the family aspect, the grounded aspect. That like we watched the first Ant-Man and this one together at Gala Cinemas in Warrawong, like just the oldest cinema ever.
Yeah.
Like, and it was good. Like I enjoyed it. Like David said, it was like I wanted questions answered after we watched Infinity War, and we didn't really get it. We just got a movie that was kind of, and the problem I had with it is that they were hyping this movie up to be that in a way. It was like, go and see Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that was their way of getting people to go and watch it. And it's like, you don't really need to do that. We appreciate Marvel enough at this point that we're going to watch it anyway. You don't need to market it as this like answers to the Infinity War questions, which it didn't do. So on the rewatch, I watched it yesterday. I didn't love it as much as I watched it at the movies, but there are still things that I think merit it being worthy, if we're going to use that terminology still. I still think it's a good film. I think, look, to me, Paul Rudd brings something, like David said, to the character that like I would never have thought Ant-Man would have been able to do. In saying that, I also think that Michael Douglas as Hank Pym brings things to that character that I didn't think they were able to do. So their relationship to me is really, really good in both movies, but especially this one. And so I really, really, really liked Hank Pym, Michael Douglas in this movie. The CGI was probably better in this movie as far as the growing and the shrinking. Obviously, the budget's probably bigger than the first one. We get more scenes. We get the Wasp in that kitchen scene, which I thought was brilliant, like with her, using her blasters, like being able to grow. Like, and they introduced the stuff of them throwing that shrinking and growing, whatever they call it at things. Like, that was cool. I actually thought Sonny Birch, I forget the guy that plays him. He was that like mobster guy. I forget the actor. He was in that show, that Western show. Huh?
Walter Goggins.
Yeah, he's in that show.
I got a lot to say about Walter Goggins later as well.
I actually thought that, and I got my issues with a couple other villains in the movie, which we'll get to that a little later too. I actually thought, again, maybe it's just me, I like grounded villains. I like villains that are, and again, he wasn't perfect, but I think if they'd keyed in on him a little bit more, in my opinion, and went down that story arc and given him more chops to work with, I would have enjoyed that.
He's in charge.
So I just wanted to give him a shout out because I didn't hate his character. I thought he had some stuff to work with, but I just don't think they allowed him to have the work that he needed to move forward. And to me, I agree with you, David. I get the science stuff is a bit like, okay, it's a bit much sometimes. You're going to have a lot of fun when it comes to Quantum Mania, I'm sure. But I actually thought any of the scenes when we get into the quantum realm, I thought they were brilliant. Like the colors of that, getting to explore how time works in the quantum realm, all that was really good. So
Doctor Strange vibes.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I enjoyed that. I think that's something for those that look at Ant-Man movies and go, wow, this is really grounded and family and human. Like someone like Malika who loves the cosmic elements of Guardians and stuff like that. This allows this sort of movie to have those elements, but they just didn't focus on it enough. They didn't go there enough. So in Quantum Mania, I'm hoping they just spend 2.5 hours in the quantum realm. That's what I want.
I'll just quickly riff off that. Sorry, Caleb's like Leonardo DiCaprio in Inception. When he talks, he's like, he's in my brain. He unlocks. That's not what Leonardo DiCaprio does. But
He plants seeds in your subconscious.
Yeah, he steals ideas. No, he doesn't. But I think
Jedi mind trick you all over the place.
I think that what Caleb says, that's probably how I feel about it, because I'm not really a fan of the Ant-Man character, but I think it's just how it all works in the film, like Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, the comedic beats, the family aspect, how they can make such weird concepts like shrinking people work, and how they can balance. I think that's what I enjoy about it, because these aren't favorite films for a lot of people. They think, oh, these are very lackluster, and I've always kind of wondered, why do I enjoy these so much? Yet I think it comes down to that.
Yeah. And what you were saying about Paul Rudd before, all of his lines in this movie I found funny. Like, I don't think he ever missed a beat. Compared to like the humor in Guardians 2, which I felt was forced, I think Paul Rudd, it just comes really natural. His delivery of stuff is just like, it genuinely gets you laughing. And also looks like he's genuinely having a good time after time. I don't know how like he's like the other cast members. Surely there's a number of outtakes because of just because of how Paul Rudd is, as with
Paul Rudd's just a likable guy.
Yeah.
he was in like 1 or 2 seasons of Friends, and like he's one of the memorable parts of Friends, even though he wasn't a main character. Like, that's how impressionable Paul Rudd is as a person. Like,
Yeah. How old is Paul Rudd actually?
He's in his
I think he's
40s.
almost in his 50s.
Yeah,
Isn't
he looks the same as what he did when he was like 20 on like all these young shows. Yeah, I think too with Paul, you got to imagine with Paul Rudd, and I think this is why I like him in Ant-Man so much, and we get him in Civil War and all these other movies later. Is you imagine what he would have watched? I imagine, Iron Man, the first Captain America, Thor. Like these movies came out, 2009, 2008, 2010, 11. Like he wasn't a young kid, but he's watching the movies at the cinemas, I assume, or he heard about them. So that impression that he gives off as Scott Lang about being like, oh my gosh, that's Captain America. Like that's almost what I imagine he would have felt when he walked into the set of Civil War, being like, oh my gosh, that's Captain. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you got to imagine what it would be like for someone who is walking into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who isn't Benedict Cumberbatch, who isn't like people that are up that level of acting that have done a lot, but just people that are comedic actors like Paul Rudd that are walking in and going, oh my gosh, this is a big deal. And I think that's why, like, we get that lovable notion of that in these movies, because he looks happy to be there. Like, he's like thankful to be.
But he also flips the script on us, and this is getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but he carries a lot of the dramatic weight in Endgame as he's the on the ground person. He's the so like while everyone else like they're going through their own stuff, he's the person that's like, oh, so this is what the snap has done to people. Like that scene between him and his daughter, and when he's running on the street, that's a powerful scene to give the comedic aspect of the film, and yet he delivers the drama so well. So I think also the fact he's so multifaceted that he can bring all different aspects is another reason why we enjoy him.
But I think he can do that because we associate his character as a representation of humanity, because these films are so family oriented and so grounded. You represent what he would be going through as almost what you'd be going through if you were in that situation.
Yeah.
It's not
he's
like
the everyday guy.
Yeah, well, it's not like Iron Man or whatever who's done all these incredible things who you look at with awe. You kind of look at him as the everyday guy. So it's like that's why that works so well. So yeah.
I like that they added that. Again, we're kind of jumping to Endgame, but they gave that dimension to Hawkeye. Actually, back in Age of Ultron, by introducing us to his house and family. But it's different again because Paul Rudd is like he's the fun guy, whereas Hawkeye is like an assassin. So it's like.
But it's interesting that both of them were in the same position where everyone else had to either run away or sign the accords, and then they were the ones that are like, nah, we got families, we need to make a deal. I found that interesting.
Yeah. Actually, their interviews together are actually some of the most entertaining. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, snippets, yeah.
They actually work well together. All right, so for my Phase 1 Out of the Cave, honestly, at the movies, I really did not like this, actually. I placed it second last on my
really
on my rankings. Yeah. Look, I think what affected it at the time, obviously, is the post Infinity War feels. At the same time, my cinema experience was horrible. Like I remember, I think it came out during winter, and for some reason, the heating in the cinema was just, I don't know. I swear it was like at 30-something degrees. We were like sweating in the movies. And then at the time I felt like a lot of things were just like, all I cared about was like what they were going to do in Endgame. So I felt like a lot of it was filler or irrelevant. At the time I really didn't care about Sonny Birch. I thought he was just pointless. And then Ghost and Bill Foster's character were just like confusing to me. Like, are they good? Are they bad? Like, where are they going with this? So, I don't know. But like, honestly, at the time, I really didn't like this movie and I really didn't care. And I felt the same way about Captain Marvel. But like, I think, unfortunately, it's just that, again, that post-Infinity War thing. It's just that lull between the two big movies that these movies unfortunately got put in. But like, watching this again, this is the first time I've watched it fully since the cinema experience. I enjoyed it a bit more this time round. I wouldn't put it too much higher, but like I appreciate like what it does in regards to its placement in the MCU. It's supposed to be like I wouldn't say that dessert, but like it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess the side kind of meal, like maybe a little drink that you take in between. It doesn't offer a lot, but it gets you going for the next meal in a sense. So I'm not great with the food analogy, so I'm just going to say like it's a bit more than a filler, if anything. In regards to positive aspects, yeah, as I said before, I really like the humor. The family aspect, I guess this time around, I recognized a bit more. I really liked the Pym. Their family dynamic is really good. I actually really liked Michelle Pfeiffer's Janet, even though we don't get much of her, and her powers are a bit weird. But again,
They're unexplained. They don't make any sense.
One of the lines in the movie is just you put the word quantum in front of everything and it explains everything.
It's quantum entanglement between the quantum states of poster molecules in your brains.
But yeah, I just like all the family dynamics.
Do you guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Cassie, she's really good as Scott's daughter.
She's done now, though, I guess.
Yeah, but the aspects of family are really good in this. Even between Lawrence Fishburne and the girl who plays Ghost. Can't remember her name, but yeah, they're like, even that dynamic was okay. But I guess that's what this movie aims for, and it carries on into Endgame.
Just to clarify, David, you had this 7th on your list, which is very high.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, even with
Love
the
Black
things
Panther,
I don't,
bro.
yeah, even with the aspects of this film I don't enjoy, it still is held up high for the reasons that I do enjoy. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, look, it makes it. Look, everyone to their own, bro. It's fine. You got both Ant-Mans in the top 10. That's respect. You got to stick with your opinions.
But like, to be honest, like if they made a movie about Hank Pym and he was played by, I don't know, like I think we're coming back to the everyday thing. I think that's what attracts me. It's the same reason why I like Hawkeye. I like the everyday characters. So again, it comes down to like with Malika, he loves the cosmic, even though he's got a weird attitude of Thor Ragnarok. He's really into the cosmic side of things. So it's interesting.
Malika, phase one. Phase one is basically out of the cave, what you thought when you first watched the movie, and the worthy aspects.
Right. All right. So last night, this is probably maybe the 3rd movie out of all the ones that we've done that I've actually watched before doing one of these. So I watched it yesterday, nice and fresh in the brain. I will say, even though this movie, except for the end, doesn't do a whole lot for the Marvel Universe as a whole, like it was sort of like just a filler, pretty much, for the MCU. Like,
yeah, I was
saying
just had to. With Chance and Fitz, it's kind of like the lull between the two big movies.
Yeah, like they had to do something to say this is where Ant-Man was for this period.
Sort of like Ragnarok. Say where Thor was.
Oh, Ragnarok, right.
Yeah, they sort of had to give reasons for where the characters are. And they've like put in the quantum realm as sort of secret.
Sorry.
I just saw your name. It's just in big letters on the screen. Shaga. All right, yep.
Yeah, and so it was pretty much like a filler arc to tell us what's going on the other side of the MCU. From that, though, I actually found it really entertaining. Like, my message to you boys where it was like, I forgot what the movie was about. Was because it's not like, after watching it, it's not like it's not entertaining. It's because it is just a filler. But like, there are a lot of aspects in it that are pretty funny. Like just Paul Rudd in it is great. Like me and you were saying, Zeta, the little trio that he has in ex-con security. Hell, even just the scene that cracked me up was the truth serum scene.
Oh yeah. We talked about that one last.
Just that one scene, I found that hilarious.
again. But like again, a huge positive is that Luis like telling stories of like what's happened in the past through like cutting back and him like doing the voiceover of stuff like that. And he says, you know what, like you love those bits, even though it's only been done in these two movies. It's like it's highly entertaining.
It's iconic, yeah.
In regards to Luis and his crew, again, carrying on from the first Ant-Man, I feel like maybe they were a bit better in the first one.
Yeah, they were.
But I like they still like maintained like a kind of presence in this movie. Like they were really good side characters. This is probably a Master Assassin thing.
In the action, Marvel does this really well. I mean, saw it with the first Ant-Man, the shrinking and growing constantly during the fight scenes. They did it with the chase scene. And I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
To see that being
done. It's like little Hot Wheels collection as well.
Yeah. So I found that really entertaining. It's just like even just like the random stuff, like the Pez becomes huge. Like it was the novelty of this movie to me that kept it really entertaining. Like there was no, I know I like saying this with other ones, is there was the fantasy and the big bad and stuff that makes me like the movies. But there wasn't any of this in this one. There wasn't really a big villain or a villain. It was a combination. You had the FBI with Ghost, with the comical bad guy. I can't remember his name. Yeah, he's a forgettable person.
Yeah.
And then like the growing, like, and then the threat of the quantum realm going between the atoms and stuff. So that was all sort of a combination of bad guys.
Sonny Birch was his name.
Yeah. Birchie.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it was a good movie. Like I wouldn't rate it super high in the MCU, but just as a standalone, filling the gap between two massive movies, and yeah, it does the job, no problems.
Yeah, I will say like watching these again, kind of like it takes away like the hype of Infinity War and Endgame, so you kind of just to see the movie for itself. And yeah, like I got to appreciate more this second time around of watching it. But like, yeah, I told the other boys in the previous recording that I hated this movie when I first watched it. No, a lot of the story and all that was kind of like, it didn't flow. Like, I think we were saying before, like the stakes just weren't as like high for me, especially after Infinity War. But like, it's not fair to make that comparison because this movie is kind of like a break from the big movies. So, like, it serves to just like move forward Ant-Man and Wasp story a little bit, whilst also giving us a taste of the quantum realm. But yeah, well, I guess we get into that later. Anyways, Shagger, what were your Phase 1 feels?
I haven't watched this since it came out. I'm not gonna lie.
That's fair enough.
Should have watched
it. That's it's not an accident. I just sort of, it's one of those films I look at and go, well, like, I'm glad you're here, but we don't need to talk. You know what I mean? Like, but it's not, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good film. It's funny. It's really funny. I'll give it that. It's very funny. Obviously, the woman that's on Mark's background, she's very good in it. But I did like it. It was funny. And obviously, when you get to the end, obviously has such a big, has a big part to play in Endgame, we find out. Spoiler. Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. I don't know. I thought it was a good film. I thought the humor was great. Obviously, those side characters were like, as Mark mentioned, the truth serum scene and whatnot. Like, those little things make the movie so much better.
Yeah.
And I hope that can continue into the next one, but we'll just see. I'm not sure about how they're feeling about the side. I think T.I. is not going to be in it or whatever.
Yeah, T.I.'s been dropped by MCU, I think.
Like, anyway, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, apart from that, it's a good film. I'm not going to say it's one of my favourites, obviously. It is very much a filler film. But yeah, I honestly, I'm not going to lie. Up until like half an hour ago, I thought we were doing the Endgame podcast. I was so G'd up. I totally forgot about this film. Like, I watched it today, so pumped to get my points on it. And I was like, holy shit, this is not even like...
Yeah, I was wondering why, like, I thought it was just like one of those, you just felt like watching it again.
Well, I did. I didn't watch it for the podcast. I didn't. But because I did, I was like, I'm going to be so prepared for this. And then I thought to myself tonight, I went, idiot. Like, honestly, like, I got a haircut for this. Like, what? But yeah, anyway.
I wish I could get one. I've got lockdown hairdo going.
Bro, if you get an afro, I'll be so happy.
It's getting there.
Yeah, but honestly, that's if you want my thoughts on this film, I forgot it existed. So, yeah, but it was funny, good story, good ending, happy days.
I think, to be honest, outside of like Fitzy, who still has this movie in like his top 10, we all kind of forgot about it. Like I also hadn't watched it till like this week for this podcast, and again, there was a reason for that. It's like one of the only ones that I just didn't enjoy at the time. Next to like Captain Marvel, I still haven't seen that since the movies as well, so that's going to be interesting to watch again. But yeah,
but like you can see where Fitz like rewatching it, like completely.
I rate that higher.
Captain Marvel,
Captain
yeah,
Marvel. Yeah,
probably. But like watching this again, like you said, Zeta, not in between other Marvel movies, like just watching it for a standalone.
Yeah,
nothing else to think about. It's entertainment value is actually pretty high.
Yeah, I think if you're an Ant-Man fan, you'll definitely enjoy this.
Yeah,
and if you like kind of the more grounded stuff, not like grounded with where it's like kind of political thriller hardcore like Winter Soldier, more just like a fun family movie with still like little stakes, but like it's almost a Disney. Nah, I don't want to say that. I mean, it is Disney, but like not a Disney.
I think
Disney movie.
its biggest downfall is being in between Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was before them or after them, it would have more impact.
Yeah, but you can't hold that against them.
How much?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not. I don't hold it against them. It's like
yeah. No, I get you.
Holy crap! It made $622 million.
But like, isn't that like a standard for all the Marvel movies, like in the MCU?
But that's off. Also, that's off Infinity War.
Yeah.
Hype.
It was like Iron Man 3 coming off. Avengers 1.
I still rate Iron Man 3 higher than this film.
Ooh, actually, same.
No.
Yeah, I know Malika doesn't. Actually, we were pretty split on Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3 is pretty low for me.
Yeah, that's fair though. Which makes me wonder how like Shang-Chi will go. Like if they actually will properly redeem this Mandarin. All right.
If they'd done, sorry, just a side note, if they'd done Iron Man 3 Mandarin as Mandarin, and like they'd properly embrace that element of it, I'd score it more.
Did you say Mandalorian? Yeah.
Wrong podcast, Mark.
Wait, did I? Can't remember.
It was like a Mandorian. Okay, alrighty. Should we jump into the I'm always angry bits?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so negative aspects. I'll pick this one off. Where to start? Okay, so I think it had this similar issue with The Incredible Hulk, where actually no, not really, because I feel like there wasn't a set villain in this movie. Like I like who was really the bad person.
Thanos.
I understand Ghost was Thanos. That just saves everything. Ghost was like a continuous character who was like just conflicted about her father, and I understand she's kind of that little girl the whole time, but she takes away from Sonny Birch's character, who acts more of a side villain, but then ends up becoming the main. I don't know. I can't explain it because I don't understand, or like it isn't very clear in the movie for me who the set villain is. So that kind of like, I guess I didn't care so much for those parts. So that's why this movie kind of got dragged down a little bit for me. In regards to the science talk, those are the parts I paid most attention to the first time watching it, because I wanted to know what was going to happen in Endgame. But they made the joke like I said before, that they just put the word quantum in front of everything to explain things. So things kind of just went over your head, or like you just didn't care because it was just a lot of, I don't know, just talk about science. But it's like Big Bang Theory where no one really understands, but that when the laugh track comes in, everybody laughs anyway. So,
bit of a Big Bang Theory dig right there.
But yeah, like those were the bits I like. I wanted to know more about, but they didn't really dig into that. But at the same time, I understand that audiences don't really care about those aspects. So I understand why they just kind of simplified it in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it for now, unless something else comes to mind while you guys talk. But yeah, those are my what made me angry.
I'll jump in. Yeah, look, I looked at my list just then. I've written it down. It's not massive. I don't have heaps of things that made me angry, but like I think it didn't meet. And again, I agree with you, Zeta. I think this movie was very affected by that post-Infinity War lull, so to speak. Well, we wanted answers and we just didn't get them. And I think that, but I did enjoy it when I watched the movies. I left there being like, oh, I think just because Paul Rudd is so great and he carries it. So again, my list of things that made me angry is not huge, but upon reflection, I think maybe this movie is I think I had this movie like 17th, 16th on my list. It was actually behind Iron Man 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I probably would put it above those two upon reflection now. That's just my opinion. So it actually has jumped, which doesn't really reflect what I'm talking about right now, but that's just more so to do with Guardians 2 and less to do with this movie. But some issues, things that made me angry. I don't love in movies, to be honest with you, when we get a romance in the first movie between Wasp and Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd. And then in this movie, it just kind of acts like, oh, we had this big tension that occurred because I went to Germany, and then we're going to watch them fall in love all over again and have this kiss scene again. Like, I don't care for that. Like, I just don't care. That's such a movie trope that I just think if you had this moment of romance in the first movie, like pick it up from the second movie. We don't need to do this whole.
I'm sorry.
Like, we hate you again now.
I didn't think I'd get
you're
caught.
such a
You didn't
douche.
think about
Like,
a lot
you're so
of things.
annoying. Like Scott Lang, let's fall in love again. Like it's
still
a waste
running.
of
The
movie
house is
time to
gone,
me. Like,
so
I
is
don't
our
think it needs
freedom.
to
How do you
happen.
think
So
he is?
I didn't like that. I thought that was
Sorry,
dumb.
I know you're mad.
I'm not
We know
looking for
that they
an
have a
apology,
connection. We
Scott.
know
The
they're
only
going to
reason
get
why we're even
together. Like, just
talking
give
is
it to
because
us
we
at the
need
start of
what's
the
in your
movie.
head.
Like that would be better for me. I know there's a lot of joking around about the whole quantum realm, that there was, so much quantum stuff. I don't think there was enough quantum realm. That's one of my negatives. I think that, and when I say that, I mean more time in the quantum realm, because that's what I went into the movie wanting, because we all assumed the way they're going to fix it Endgame, which was partly true, was going into the quantum realm, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to see more explanation about how that works, the time in the quantum realm, all that sort of stuff. I don't think we got enough of it. I would have liked more. That was an issue. And then, sorry, go for it.
That's interesting because, because the first Ant-Man was supposed to be like our taste of the quantum realm. And then I guess we all thought this movie was the one where they really dive deep into it. I mean, they do dive, but like, again, it's a very limited like portion of the movie that we get quantum realm stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a little what I was hoping for, like to use a comparison, and maybe it's something that we're going to get in Quantumania, which, side note, I'm actually really excited for. Like, I don't know why out of all the movies, and we did a poll on our group chat the other day, like, what movie are you most excited for? After thinking about it, I'm like, that's one of the ones I'm most excited for a few reasons, because I actually am interested in the quantum realm, and I also think that, like, Kang the Conqueror is one of my all-time favorite characters from, like, any Marvel, like, thing ever. So I'm interested to see how Jonathan Isaac will take that on. Jonathan Majors, sorry.
Jonathan Majors, yeah.
How Jonathan Isaac's a basketball player. How he'll take that on. I think that'll be really interesting. What I imagined it would be like in this movie when they go down into the quantum realm in that little ship is I imagined it a little bit more like Brendan Fraser in Journey to the Center of the Earth. Do you know what I mean? Like they're actually like spending time like landing that ship, exploring that realm, like finding a way to do that, which I think would be really interesting, rather than it being like they're like in the inside of like an animal's stomach and they can't actually get out. They're just there on a ship, and then they're like, for me, the quantum realm seems like something you should be able to actually get out and explore. Like that would be interesting to me. Where I don't know if they'll do that in the next one. So that was a bit of it wasn't an issue, but I was like, we could have got more time. And maybe it's a budget thing. Maybe it's just too expensive. The last one for me was just probably the lack of development for Ghost. You already touched on it, Zeta. I don't think there was much development there. I could have done the movie without her. That's my opinion. I could have literally done more development on Sonny Burch and made it this mobster thing where they're trying to steal the tech. Like, I know that sounds like the first Ant-Man, but like, I don't really care. Like, that's not the villains to me don't seem to be the point of these movies. Like, they're not the most important thing. It's more that family dynamic that I think is important. And so I don't think Ghost needed to be there. And so I think that she brought down the movie. The only interesting part of her character was when that guy on their group called her Baba Yaga over and over again. That was the only part that was cool. Yeah, that's me. That's my issues.
Damn. Ghosted.
She should be ghosted.
All right, David.
Yeah, and I think on your point about family, I think you have to take a note out of the Fast and Furious series, which is when you can put your emphasis on villains and be about family, because at the end of the day, even if your villains kill your family, they can become part of your family. Why, like everyone's family, as we have seen. So I think that's where Ant-Man kind of lost out.
Are you saying we should put Vin Diesel in this movie?
Yeah, Vin Diesel and Groot, and basically reveal that they're both part of the family. Like,
now to our promotion part of the podcast, Fast and Furious 9.
Come
to
down.
see it near you.
Yosemite near you. Come
watch it at Gala Twin Cinema.
Come watch it at Gala Twin Cinemas with casual discussions with the boys.
It's probably
oh my goodness. But yeah, so for me, basically, I went into this movie thinking that the whole thing about them finding the mother was going to get resolved in the first scene, because I knew, like, Michelle Pfeiffer was rocking up on promotional material. We all knew that she was going to get out of the quantum realm. So I thought, well, this is not really... And then when I realized the whole film was going to be about them trying to get her out, I thought, oh no, this is the plot. And so that was a bit of a thing for me. And then I thought, well, maybe it turns out she's evil. Maybe that's the twist. But no, she just calls her kid Jelly Bean. So I was like, cool. So that, even though I like Michelle...
And she has quantum powers.
Yeah, quantum powers as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Michelle Pfeiffer, and I'm glad she's in the series. It was just they could have done that a bit better. And yeah, going back to, like, I wish we saw more Quantum Realm. I'm excited for Quantum Mania that they're going to go more for that. But it's, again, the whole film about them using science talk, just, it's not interesting. It's interesting when Paul Rudd's making fun of it. That's what really kind of breaks it up. But when you got, like, when I'm thinking about the movie now, I'm just imagining them in that science lab just constantly saying, oh, we get the quantum field and the quantum realm and the quantum void and and it's just like, oh, why is this? It's the same reason why I enjoy Venom when Eddie Brock is fighting with Venom in his brain and all the funny bits. But what brings down that movie for me is when they're sitting in the science lab trying to work out how to pronounce symbiote or symbiote. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is a trope we can leave behind in movies. We don't need scientists and coats constantly using scientific language, especially since when I talk to people who actually do science, say, "Oh, it's all garbage anyway." What they're speaking about. So it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah. Actually, sorry. Yeah, actually, on that, Marvel leaves. I think it's better that when they leave a lot of this stuff to our imagination, it's enough to explain it within the movie context and the plot, like, just to keep the plot going forward. But when they get too deep and start to go real technical, that's often where they kind of struggle.
Yeah. Like, when they make the Fantastic Four, I don't need Mr. Fantastic talking scientific language. I know he's smart. Don't tell me. Just show me without them telling me.
That's why Iron Man works so well. It's like in Avengers where he comes and says he read the whole dossier on quantum physics or whatever he did the night before. He doesn't need to explain it to you. Like, it's just that you know that he read it and he's smart. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's like, we don't need this explanation. He doesn't need to sit there and explain. And that's why they did in Endgame. They didn't sit there and explain how time travel works. He just worked it out because he's so smart.
And what makes those scenes interesting is it's not about what's happening. It's about the development of the character. Like, when you think about the scenes when Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark is doing science, it's everything that's happening around him. It's how he's interacting with Jarvis. It's how he's interacting with Dummy. And, it's all those things. And in those comedic elements, it's more about you learn about the character and you don't need the science. It's just assume, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. So, talking about Sonny Burch, look, the thing is about Walter Goggins is he's someone that if used right in the right movie, he can be a great actor. But at the same time, he can also be just the random actor that just rocks up in these movies. You think, I don't know why you're in this movie. I just assume they just picked you from an assembly line. Like, yeah, he's got a bit of a random filmography when, like, you know, he did Tomb Raider a couple of years ago. I don't know why he did Tomb Raider, but so coming into this film knowing he was going to be the villain, I was a bit, okay, this could go either way. Personally, like, I'm like Caleb, I enjoy the grounded villains. Like, Lex Luthor is one of my favorite villains of all time because he's a business CEO conglomerate. Sort of, I can't pronounce the word.
Conglomerate.
That's it. Thanks.
That's it.
But the thing is, with Sonny Birch, what made it difficult for me was I couldn't think of a good reason why he was the villain in this movie. But what worked for me with him was that he was a great villain, not to the Wasp, not to Ant-Man, but he was a great villain to Louise and the boys. When he was with them, that it worked, and the chemistry worked, and it made sense. But other than that, he was more just a foil for me that they kind of just squeezed into the film. But that's how I felt about him as a villain. My other negative... Sorry?
Have you ever had a side character villain before? It's literally what you...
That's essentially what he is, but when you think about it.
He is. He literally is. It would have been, honestly, the only way the villains could have been saved in this movie is if Ghost never took her mask off the whole time, and then right at the end when it's revealed that she's dying, she takes her mask off and it's Darren Cross, and he's dying and they have to, like, save him. That would have been the only saving grace for this movie, as far as villains.
Oh my gosh.
I'm back. He's like,
but I guess my final ones would probably be, similar, like with Bill Foster. It was a bit strange to me because in the comics, Bill Foster is Goliath, which is pretty much Ant-Man, but like when Ant-Man's big, even though Ant-Man is big. So having him as kind of like an old science professor, I don't know, like it kind of worked as like the father figure, the moral center for Ghost. But other than that, like, again, Lawrence Fishburne played Perry White in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, and he was one of the memorable parts of those films. In this one, he doesn't do much when you really think about it. He doesn't really stand out. And, like, he makes digs at a guy about his dead wife. Who does that?
Yeah. I was going to say, it's pretty hard to go back and forth with Michael Douglas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I think another thing, when I first saw it, I found it really long. That's another criticism I have. I felt like it was a bit too long for my liking.
Yeah.
So, they're my criticism of the film.
It felt like for me, I was sitting on the bus in Philippines without any air conditioning because it was so hot.
So that's you. That's on you. You only go to Greater Union Harbour. You know eventually the cinema's going to wear out and shut down. It's on you.
Yeah, true. Still, Ant-Man and Wasp, I blame it. Grant, I'll just keep switching around just for the fun of it.
Beauty.
Well, I know it was a while since you watched it, but is there anything that stands out in regards to being negative about this movie other than you forgot about it?
I feel like it was rushed, to be honest. And it's, as we can't hold against it the fact that where it's positioned in the film release, but I feel like it's okay to be a movie that is a filler, but it's almost filmed as if they intended that. Like, let's just get this out of the way so we can get to the ending that has reference to Endgame. It's like, I'd love to just have the connection for Endgame, but we need to put a movie in front of that. Like, and, but you know what?
But could they have done, like, that's the thing. Could they even have done more? Like, what are you going to throw in front of it that won't take away from Endgame?
That's what I'm saying. You can't really, it's like a, how am I going to say this? Not be harsh. It's like when a kid has a disability. This is not even bad. That's the correct term.
Where is this going?
When a kid has a disability, you can't blame the kid for that disability.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But this movie isn't the best. But you can't blame it because it couldn't be different, even if it wanted to, because it was birthed that way.
You're saying this movie is disabled?
It's not. I'm using it.
No,
It was.
I'm using it as a
Yeah.
way of explaining how I feel about the film.
That's a good comparison because you said it's like it was made with the intention of being just filler.
It is,
right?
and it's not its fault. You can't give it shit. Like
it's good filler though. Like I know
Yes,
we're in a
it is.
negative section, but it's actually good filler. Like we talk about Thor: The Dark World, which isn't filler, but it because it plays. Yeah, it plays elements into the wider MCU, but it was one of those movies again didn't really need to happen. Like they could have done it
it only happens because they need a storyline around what they're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it like worked a little bit well in some aspects because it was embracing the fact that it's between these big movies. So I think they probably knew that there's not much they can do about like what people will think because like what can you do after Infinity War and then leading into Endgame? You just got to kind
But
of.
then they use that. They use that hype. They use that hype factor, knowing that we can go big budget because we're going to get money. Like, But even Paul Rudd on interviews was literally admitting to like knowing how silly this is in between two big films.
Yeah.
Like, and he even mentioned that even because he was sort of filming parts of Endgame and whatnot whilst doing this film, and he goes even what I was doing on the different sets were like just completely different intensity. Like, well, he said the Ant-Man the Wasp was like a comedy show compared to Endgame. Like, yeah, so it's funny. They admitted the fact that it was a bit of an in-between film, which is fine by me. That's okay. That's how I can't make fun of it. I can't make fun of the film. It was a good film, but yeah. Sorry.
No, you can. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to make fun of a disabled film. Okay.
Okay. Malika.
That's me.
Yep. Your
all right,
your recap of
things I didn't like.
Of Cinema Sins.
I actually didn't watch the cinema sins for this.
The whole film's a cinema sin.
Actually, no, I have watched the cinema sins. One of the ones I do remember is
I thought you were going to be original for once.
oh gosh, it's because I couldn't really pick any huge negatives out of it. Like saying it's filler is a negative in its own right.
You can't make fun of it. I told you can't.
But like one of them is like these guys are on the run from like the FBI or whatever it is, and they're literally shrinking cars and buildings in the middle of the road and like making them big. It's like how is no one seeing that? And like they're not even checking that the road's empty. The guy just walks to his car and shrinks this massive like 6-story building.
Yeah, actually,
there's
one thing. They have to be the most like oblivious people.
Yeah.
After watching Thanos snap away half the universe, FBI is not really a big deal. Like,
well, like this is set before it, isn't it?
Yeah. This is before the snap.
yeah, but the film came out after.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, but I mean the people in the movie.
Yeah, the people in the movie wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's the comparison of the films. I'm being picky. I'm being picky again. I shouldn't be.
Yeah. Soundtrack isn't too memorable.
Yeah, actually,
That's
I kind of agree.
I don't even know what the soundtrack was.
It was more like I don't know, like happy stuff, like because it's like a family-oriented kind of thing.
Funny, yeah. Other negatives. Oh, like we sort of touched on this, but the villains aren't memorable. They're sort of typical Marvel
Morpheus
villains. Maybe Ghost. Maybe they'll play a part later. There's probably a lot of comic lore that they can pull on for Ghost to bring her back in somewhere, somehow. Now that she's somewhat stable. Or one of the other ones is how, what's her name? Mother Van Dyne comes back. And all of a sudden she has like mad control over the quantum.
Where was she in Endgame?
Yeah, true. Oh, unless she got they got snapped. Oh, but like in the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah, true. in the final war
She
here.
doesn't have a suit.
Hey, Mark, do me a favour. Turn your head to the left.
You lagged out there.
Yeah, there we go. No, back a little bit. Yeah. Duck to your right. Turn your head to the
You just
left.
want to see all the photos.
Just like leave the frame.
I'll just do audio. I'll do audio.
I saw his mouth in line with the boobs. I was gonna try and get your mouth and nose in line with the boobs. Take a screenshot. Anyway,
yeah.
cool.
What else? Honestly, it's the fact that it isn't a memorable movie. That's probably its biggest weakness.
I think just because of the fact as well that it is filler and not that memorable.
Yeah.
The characters within it as well, including Ghost, there wasn't much to them. A lot of them seemed like just side characters. No one was had a role that was other than the main characters. Like they didn't really have roles that were memorable or you go away thinking I want to see more of that character. A lot of them were just throw away. And you can't really say they took away from each other. It's just there wasn't much to their story that was engaging. So that's why that adds to the fact that this movie seems like a filler in that sense.
Yeah. That's it from me. Yeah, there's nothing really I think it's because it's such an inconsequential movie.
Yeah,
which there is just not a huge amount to say about it.
I think I don't know if I said this in the other one. One of the other things I was looking for is just any hints towards what was going to happen in Endgame. So I was kind of annoyed that this movie wasn't consequential, other than the fact that you have the quantum realm, which plays a huge part, but they didn't really dive too much deep into that. I guess because they didn't want to spoil anything. But
yeah. They were keeping it very open, so we couldn't guess.
Once again, what Mark said, how much more could they do? Now, obviously, the only bit that really made me go was at the end when they got snapped away. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that was the one bit we're all looking for, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I looked up Ant-Man vs. Wasp fails. It just comes up with a full-length movie on YouTube.
Man, I'm going to save it for the end, but you're going to love Fitz's rating of this movie.
Is it good?
It's definitely 8 point something.
That bloke's on crack, I swear.
Alright, okay. Next part is MVP. Who carried the movie for you guys? Chance.
Yeah, this one is actually when you start thinking about the characters in this movie, and maybe this is obviously a section where we're going to start talking about characters. So we've been this is a character thing. We'll talk about it later in this podcast. You realize the characters in this movie, some of them are actually pretty strong. And that's why I found it harder to pick a character than I thought I was for best character in the movie. Obviously, so you have Scott Lang, Paul Rudd, who we've spoken about a lot, who is great. I'm not going to give it to him. I'm actually going to give mine to Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. I actually think he carried every scene that he was in. I think that I believed him being angry at Scott Lang. I believed him and he was good in the first one too, but I think because the first movie was our introduction to Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, I would have given my MVP to Paul Rudd in that one, to Scott Lang. But in this one as Hank Pym, I think the scenes when he finally gets to see Janet again, I think they were brilliant. His concepts of getting frustrated at Lawrence Fishburne, that whole idea, even the scenes, which is a bit of a joke, but I still thought it was really good when obviously Paul Rudd's acting as Janet and he touches his face, Michael Douglas' face. Even those things, I'm that's comedic. I get it, but for Michael Douglas to act that well in that moment and act like he was actually talking to his wife was really good. So I just thought he was really good in this movie. I think I'd give it to him, and I think if this movie didn't have Michael Douglas, both of these, I don't know that it carries the same weight for me as what it does. I think he just does something to the movie that elevates it to a whole different level. So, yeah. Hank Pym.
He's definitely a solid Hank Pym.
Mm.
And yeah, Michael Douglas is a pretty legendary actor.
Mm.
All right, David, MVP.
Of course, it has to be this guy. Good old Jimmy Woo.
Oh, here we go.
I love me some Jimmy Woo.
He's also a youth pastor.
is.
Yeah, that's a great line. That's a great line.
It is.
Okay, sweetie.
But that's it. Like Randall Park, like
You're really great
Well,
with
he's a
kids.
great actor in
Thanks,
his
I'm
own
also a
right.
youth pastor.
And again, he's another comedic actor similar to Paul Rudd that easily could have felt out of place, but he just fitted the role. And even like, I don't know, just every line he said, he killed it. Like I love it when he goes up to oh my gosh, Scott Lang. I was about to call him Paul Rudd, and he's like, "How'd you do it, Scott?" He goes, "Do what?" He goes, "The card trick." Like just weird stuff like that. And I think maybe because I could just relate. Maybe I can relate to Jimmy. But honestly, even like the post-credit scene, I was really hoping that instead of having that stupid post-credit scene with the ant just playing the drums, I would have liked it because they had that thing in the end about when he said, "Oh, do you want to go to dinner?" He says, "No."
Did you want
That
to
he actually just the end scene is
some
just
free.
Jimmy Woo sitting at dinner waiting for Scott Lang to come, but Scott Lang is stuck in the quantum realm, and then he's just like, he's not coming, just gets up and walks off, or just does something really weird like that. Like, I think that's what just really worked for me. And I also just like the fact that even though he's against Scott, he's sort of rooting for him at the same time. Like I love it when he just like breaks into the house, he's ready to take him down, and then he's leaving. He's like, "You should be really proud of you, Scott. I'm really happy for you." Like he's just funny. So yeah, Jimmy Woo for me.
Do you think that they'll eventually do? Because obviously we know that Jimmy Woo is in WandaVision and like took him from a level where he was like kind of a cult figure in this movie to like now everybody loves Jimmy Woo. Like, do you think eventually we'll get like a break-off series of like even like maybe a couple shorts of Jimmy Woo? Because there's a lot of time that passes between this movie and then when we see him. Like, it's 5 years. Do you know what I mean? Like what's he? I mean, he could have snapped. Do we know that he snapped? We don't know.
No, I don't think we know.
No, we don't. We don't know.
So he could have been alive the whole time, being an FBI agent, like for 5 years in the Endgame snap. Like, I'd love to know what happened to Jimmy Woo for that 5 years.
Yeah.
I really they proposed having that X-Files series with Jimmy Woo and Darcy, and I would watch. I don't think Marvel's interested in doing stuff like that, but I would watch that. Like,
yeah, he's almost like the Phil Coulson of the later phase.
That's true. Yeah. That's actually true when you think about it.
Fans kind of just want more, or like really appreciate this guy.
Okay, here's a question quickly. So we were all upset when Phil Coulson died in Avengers. If in the future Jimmy Woo has a death scene, would you guys be sad? You'd be like,
I'd be more upset than Phil.
Yeah, I'd pretty. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Phil to me in Avengers was like more annoying than what Jimmy Woo was. Like, I didn't like. I get why he's there and I get why he was important. I think they assumed that more people would like Phil because like the end credit scenes that he was in, like leading up to Avengers, they thought they would mean more to us. And I'm like, dude, it's not like Nick Fury died. Like,
he works.
He died like 7 times.
This is a bit of a segue, but he works as being that mysterious agent that just very awkward and doesn't really say much. And, you know, like you've seen it in Iron Man. But when they start giving him a personality, it kind of gets a bit weird. It's like, well, okay, well, what's your point?
Yeah, well, it's like, okay, does Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hypothetically work better if you take Phil out and put Jimmy Woo in?
I think interesting.
I think it does. I'd watch it more.
Yeah.
All right.
Zeta.
My MVP is actually Evangeline Lilly's Hope. I actually like gave her a lot of praise in the Ant-Man one, but like to me, she's just like one of the best female characters in the MCU. She was great in the first Ant-Man, just as Hope, and then see her as Wasp. I think paid off quite well because she destroyed it as Wasp. In this, I mean, a lot of it was just action sequences as Wasp, but also as Hope. I think she did. I feel she contributed a lot, especially in that scene that Chanzi mentioned before, in regards to Paul Rudd, being controlled by Janet. It's so good. It's like almost like Jack Black playing Jack Black in Jumanji. You know, the blonde girl. It just for some reason they pull it off so well.
The way that he looks at Evangeline Lilly and winks at her is brilliant. Like, he looks at her as like, "So proud of you, honey."
But yeah, she clearly gets a lot from her parents in the context of the movie. As like having knowledge of the quantum realm of Pym particles and can handle herself quite well. I do agree that the parts where they're kind of like trying to rekindle the romance between her and Lang were a bit like going backwards and weren't necessary, but I think the aspects of her reconnecting with her mum, and her like, I guess, the hide and seek stuff was good. So essentially MVP.
What was your thoughts? I wasn't a big fan of the whole, why didn't you take me to Germany with you? Like, she wasn't Wasp by that point. I didn't like that aspect. And then
it was a bit.
They felt the need to pay that off in Endgame, which is like, I'm on it, Cap. And then Scott looked at her.
I like the Germany bit. I didn't like, but her calling him out for calling him Cap, I don't mind that gag. Like,
I didn't mind that gag. It was more the thing of being like, I want to be an Avenger too. Make me an Avenger. And then when it gets to Endgame, it's like, yay, I'm an Avenger now. You finally accept me. And I'm like,
the whole whiny thing doesn't really work for her because she's known to work on her own anyway.
Yeah.
Or like be independent regardless.
And again, she wasn't the Wasp by that time. Like, that's like them saying, oh, let's take Louise to Germany. Actually, I wouldn't mind saying that, but
but didn't he essentially, to go to Germany, like he didn't get kidnapped by them, but he essentially got like he
consented and then he got kidnapped.
He got taken very abruptly. It's like, what did he have time to call up Hope and be like, hey, I'm going to Germany, you want to come in this van?
Yeah. Actually, those stakes in the movie were a bit of a negative for me in regards to him doing this for the greater good. Like, I understand the Pym family were like, I don't know, they wanted to save Janet, but like it was a bit selfish of them to call out Scott Lang for his actions.
To be fair, he did steal their property.
Oh yeah, I get it. I get that. I get that, but like at the end of the day, it was for the. Oh, well, actually, it wasn't really for the greater good. He was convinced it was, though.
It was for Bucky.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess so. But like, I think just in regards to that, I think it's like they're trying to show again that she actually really like cares about what Scott thinks of her, which kind of takes away from her like independent character. Though I think I don't know if there are fans that kind of enjoy their relationship as much as like MCU's not great with the relationships we've said time again. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm more interested in the to and fro between like their romance is okay, but I like the banter between Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas. Like they got kind of like father and son type, like similar to Back to the Future, but more condescending and more angry with each other. Like that's where it works for me. When it's like, I'm not saying like Hank and his daughter do that isn't interesting, but it was more interesting for me in the first one where there was a bit of the you weren't there for me. When it was in this one where it's like, it's us against you, Scott. You abandoned us. I didn't like that. I like it more when I would have liked if it was more about Hank and Scott and how their relationship was turned upside down rather than because it really affected.
To me, like I said before, it would have been better if we found out that Scott and Hope had like they'd stayed together even though Hank hated him. Like they'd stayed like, and it was like a big like not that like it was like a secret relationship that they stayed together and he found out and was like really angry and then they had to restore their relationship. Hank and Scott, that would have been better to me. I would have enjoyed that more. I think it just was like I didn't need that.
At the end of the day, I just like whenever Hank goes scat. You know, I can't.
God.
I feel sorry for all my friends named Scott because every time I hear Scott, I just go, I don't know, Robin, can you do it better?
Not really.
It's just Michael Douglas has a way of saying Scott.
I think David just likes the family. He would have preferred a movie if it was like the whole Pym family and then the whole Lang family go on like a lakeside holiday together and it's just their interactions on holiday, like how they're dealing with like taking the canoe out on the lake and
it's like that Vince Vaughn couples retreat movie.
Actually, because you mentioned Back to the Future, maybe he's saying Great Scott. instead.
Oh.
Great
But-
spot.
We'll move on, but even like in the promotional material, like the first movie, Paul Rudd and Mark Douglas like, let's just get together and just like, slap our legs and scream ants. Have you guys seen that?
No, I haven't.
They like get
Is
together.
that one of the promotionals?
Yeah, and they're like doing this and they go, ants. And it's like Ant-Man. It's just because they get along so well. They've got such good chemistry. So
Yeah, right. So I'll let you know who me, Chance, and David chose. I chose Hope Van Dyne, Wasp. I love her character. I've loved her in Ant-Man 1, and this one, she just showcased her abilities as a Wasp, and also she developed her character really well, like in regards to her knowledge of the quantum realm and of Pym particles. But like, I did get annoyed a bit at the fact that she was a bit whiny when it came to Scott talking about what he did in Germany with Cap and all that. And she's like, "You didn't call me," stuff like that. Fitzy chose Jimmy Woo, and like, I can see why. Like, there is something about him that's lovable, and also because Fitzy likes again the simple, grounded stuff from this movie. And I think Chance chose Hank Pym, from what I remember. But yeah, Michael Douglas is a beast, so you can see why.
Yeah. Listen, she's the only hope this movie has. So that's
a lot. Good one.
really how it works.
All right, Malega, who's your MVP for this one?
Nice.
Wow, Christ.
Your VPN.
I have to Google this.
I'd love to say Ant-Man, but the movie is about him. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah. He would have been my MVP for the first one. But yeah, for this one, I don't know.
We have a segment for side characters, don't we?
Yeah, after this.
Yeah. I'd still have to say it's him.
Ant-Man? That's
Ant-Man. Yeah.
And the message from Janet inside his head.
Like, he carries the movie. Like, even though some of the decisions he makes are
That's me. I'm sorry.
they are.
Can you tell me who's texting
They
me?
just moves the movie through, and like, even though Hope and Pym like shout at him or whatever, or get annoyed at him, etc., because some of the decisions he makes, it's sort of, you have to do them, like, and the humor that he brings to the movie as well, and like even some of the, like the action scene, like where he's using the truck and he's like using it like a skateboard, and going down the road, like it's sort of, but it's because it's his movie, like it's Ant-Man's movie.
Yeah.
Like Wasp is pretty good in it as well. But I'd have to give this one to Ant-Man, the man.
Yeah, well, I'd say he carries his franchise a lot better than the movie that follows, because Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is a bit not the greatest. Anyways,
not marvelous.
No. All right. So Ant-Man. Grant, who's your MVP?
Morpheus.
Really?
No, I'm going to say Ant-Man as well, because I don't really have anyone else, and I'm not going to go too far into that. That's my answer.
Like outside, yeah.
Malika said everything you can say. There's not much more.
Covered. Yeah. And you talk about him anyway in the positives, like his humor. Yeah, everything.
It's going to copy basically what Malika said.
Bit of copy.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on then. Our master assassins for this movie. Which side characters did you guys enjoy the most or feel like deserve some praise?
You can go first, Grant.
Honestly, I don't remember that. I don't remember the goddamn name.
Which one?
The Mexican bloke,
Louis.
funny guy.
Wow, Dr.
Oh,
Pym.
Louise, yeah.
Like who would
Yeah,
have
that
thought
guy.
once again
He's great.
in your hour of need that
He's
you would turn
like-
to us, you know?
He's good.
We can tell you're really into this movie.
He's funny. Look, it's a Marvel film. I love it so much. But, yeah. It's like... This film's like the vegetables on your plate. You don't want to eat them, but you have to. and that's what.
It's
You don't
funny.
want to watch it, but
Everyone does food analogies on this podcast. Like, I don't know why.
love food. It's
Oh,
pretty
but like-
obvious.
Even when Chans and Fitz are on, they forced one in somehow, and then I tried it and it just failed.
Was Fitz eating
I
yogurt?
think a body like mine comes easy. This takes work. This takes food.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Nah. Louise, he's great. He's cool.
Yeah. Well, the truth serum scene says enough, and also when he recounts a story, it's like the best thing.
Yeah.
The way he tells stories is great. Like,
When he says it with the truth serum in him, where is Hank? Where is Hank?
it's really good.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally, he's not in a good place.
Oh.
Well, that's my answer. Anyway.
Yeah, I even love the way, it's a simple thing again, the way he takes these, like, the security business so seriously.
Yeah, he's the GM.
Or like,
If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. All right?
hey, well, I didn't know we'd get some deep dives from Grant as well.
I work every fucking day.
Yeah, Grant's been working for the past 10 years.
I've been working since kindergarten, let's be honest.
I was gonna say, even when you're not working, you're working.
Yeah, I'm working on... Bro, I'm still in shock that this is an Endgame podcast. I'm so G'd up.
Watching this movie was work. You didn't even watch it?
I was even G'd up to the missus. I was like, babe, this is the big one. Like, wait, we're going to watch this together. It's going to be amazing. I've got all my points saved up. I've got notes. And she's like, you're going to smash it? You're going to do it good? And I'm like, yeah, no. Anyway.
It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck when we come to Endgame because you'll have nothing left to say.
Oh, well, Endgame going to have a bunch of facts about Wasp and Ant-Man. All right, anyway.
All right, Malika, you're Master Assassin.
All right. Louise actually was one of my first guesses, choices. But I am going to go with the Russian guy
No.
in the trio.
Baba Yaga.
Help yourself.
Yeah, it's just classic.
Oh,
Like, I know
yeah.
he doesn't do a huge amount for the movie, but like those two scenes absolutely cracked me up.
No. He's a good comic relief, like an action
Yeah.
one.
Like when he's the first Baba Yaga scene, when he's like explaining it to everyone, and then when she actually appears and he starts singing the song, like, rocking himself backwards and forwards. Like, that actually cracked me up.
I don't remember any of this.
I'd say at least like after the cinema, you like at least like watch it again at least one more time, even though it's not the greatest.
And just,
Well, I
again,
would've
just go YouTube, type in Baba Yaga Ant-Man.
Just
I
that
would've-
one scene.
I would have watched it again, but I forgot it existed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember this guy.
He's
Yeah, Baba Yaga. Yeah, I'm on board now. Oh, my God. This is so embarrassing. Performance issues aren't uncommon. 1 in 5, actually.
You're usually, it's like your roles have reversed. Usually Malika's the one that's in the dark, saying like,
Yeah, well, I'm making
Hawkeye-
things up.
Hawkeye was in Infinity War and all that.
Well, if you look behind Malika, there's a reason he watched this film. Okay. I promise the next category I'm going to give some more input.
I'm not going to muck around here. It's the same as it would have been in the first movie for me. It's Louise, Dave, and Kurt.
No!
I think like it has to be. It's so,
No, I agree. Just you
Yeah,
got
no.
flooded.
I know. I'm not even going to talk that much about it because I think that it's like without them three in the movie, like they're to me they're the definition of the quintessential Master Assassins category that we have. Like
Yeah.
the characters in the movie that carry a lot of the weight of comedic relief, of story plot, of things that you need them to do, of recapping things that occur. Like they're literally the definition of what this category is. So Louise, Dave, and Kurt to me are like really, really, really good. I think if you take them out of the movie, this movie goes for me from being like a pretty decent Marvel installment to like, you know, same as Michael Douglas, but goes to being like a little bit weaker because they just carry a lot of that like, you know, filler stuff that could be really crap, but they actually like there's a bit of relief in there where you're like, oh man, Michael Pena, he's great. Like that's just what you think about when you look at him. So yeah.
mine was going to be Jimmy Woo, but David like pretty much said all he wanted about him. He was his bloody MVP. So yeah, like Jimmy Woo, easily my master assassin. If I can mention anything else, it's just the fact that I like they played on the close magic. They played on that further in One Division, so it's so great. But yeah, that was my one.
I like to always go a bit different for my side characters. So I don't remember his name in the movie, but the actor's name is Bobby Cannavale. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and he's
on the inside of this.
the stepdad. Yeah,
3 days,
and
seriously.
I just love him in this one just because.
Me too.
Again, like it's funny because in the first movie they had to have like this antagonistic relationship, but then they became friends in real life. So when they came to this movie, they're like, well, we're friends now. We don't really want to portray ourselves hating each other. So why don't we just be friends? And I just, again, back to the same thing I like about Jimmy Woo, how he's like, he's married Scott Lang's ex, and he just loves Scott. He supports him. He's the police officer. And when the police officer's there, he's just there supporting Scott, but at the same time, trying to support his wife, at the same time trying to support the police. Like he's got good comedic timing as well as an actor. So yeah, he's my favorite side character.
He was really good in this movie. I thought. I agree with you. He was like, even that line when Jimmy Woo first turns up at the beginning with the FBI, and they're like, the wife's like, "Do you need a warrant for this?" He's like, "Actually, they don't." And he's just like saying all the things about like he's just as annoyed, but it's like they're doing what they're allowed to do, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I love the group hug a bit.
Yeah, agree. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like, I don't know, obviously this is something that I love, but in the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen, like that relationship when she gets remarried, and in the first one they're really hostile, but then in the second and third ones, like when he finds out that he's actually Santa Claus, like there's like this like awe about, it's kind of like that because he's Ant-Man, so it's kind of like this awe of him as a superhero. And then they're like best mates, sort of thing. It reminded me heaps of that when I was watching it. I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh, right. Actually, we've reached the end game. And so this is our righteous quote and
honor,
Mcguire
patriotism.
I guess I'll kick it off. For my quote, I usually choose a serious one, but I chose a kind of funny one. But I think it just fits this movie really well. And it's after asks Scott if he destroyed the suit, and Scott's like, "Yeah,
I did. I destroyed it. I swear.
Like,
I can't believe you destroyed
it was my life's
suit.
work." And then
But that was my life's work.
He finds out later that he didn't steal the suit. What? He didn't destroy the
It was your
suit,
life's
and then
work,
Scott's
Hank.
like,
I
"But it was your
couldn't
life's
destroy
work."
that.
So just that quote in regards to him twisting Hank's words and using it against him, I really enjoyed that. I think it just speaks to Paul Rudd, but also the dynamic between the two of them, where I don't know, like Hank is obviously Ant-Man, but like the creative Pym particles and whatnot. But Scott's the guy who kind of like thinks outside the box and uses Hank's stuff in a different way. And I guess like the mentality between the two of them, even though they often clash, like it just works well. So yeah, that's my quote. In regards to my Toby Maguire rating, I'll move this up a bit more in my rankings, but I'll still give it like, I don't know, maybe a 6 Toby Maguires out of 10. Not a huge amount more. It's still, again, it's not the greatest movie, but I think, I would have given it a lot lower when I had first seen it. So to give it this rating now shows that I appreciate it a bit more. It's just, it doesn't hit the same way as a lot of the other MCU movies do. Which is obviously why it's not even in my top 15. So yeah, but yeah, that's me.
I'll go in. Yeah, I'm going to go with my quote. I mean, you're going to pick a comedic quote from this movie because there's so many of them. But I'm actually going to go with, just because this is the quote that made me laugh out loud while I rewatched this, because of all the stuff we've spoken about from all the Marvel movies, and Robin's actually wearing the costume today. He's got his baseball cap and his sunglasses on. It's when they're going to the university to see Goliath or see Will Foster. And Scott Lang's like, guys, it's not a good idea to be out in the open like this. Like, he's freaking out about leaving the house. And Hank Pym's like, relax, no one's going to wreck us. And he's like, what? Because of hats and sunglasses? That's not a disguise, Hank. We look like ourselves, but at a baseball game. I'm just like, to me, that is just Marvel poking fun at itself, which I think is just so great, because I think that's like, they recognize that we all watch Civil War, we all watch Winter Soldier, we all watch these movies, and we're like, dude, like everyone still know, like you don't wear costumes, we know who you are, like we know that that's who you are. So it's like, don't just put a baseball cap on and think that no one's gonna know. I just thought that was funny. I laughed out loud. I didn't actually remember it from the first time I watched it at the cinema. So anyway, my Toby Maguire rating, I was kind of stuck between 6.5 and then 7. I was in between that the whole time because I actually did like the movie. It wasn't amazing. So I'm probably going to go smack bang in the middle and give it like a 6.7. That's probably what I'm going to go. 6.7, Toby's out of Maguire. For me. Yeah, that's it.
All right, David.
Okay. When Caleb first started saying his quote, his quote is great, but I thought he was going to reference the part where the FBI is coming and they're all freaking out, and Hank checks the monitor and it's got the ants playing the drums, and he looks at Scott and goes, "What are you, 15?" Like,
that's a good one too.
But my quote, and sorry boys, this is going to be a long one, so I'll try and rush through it. But my quote is when Cassie asked Jimmy Woo,
this must
why
all
can't
seem
you
like
leave
a
my
bunch
daddy
of
alone?
confusing
He
grown-up
says,
stuff to you, huh?
"Oh, Cassie, this must all seem
think
like
of
a
it
bunch
this
of
way.
confusing
Your
grown-up
school
stuff
has
to you." Well,
rules,
think of it
right?
this way. Your
Like,
school
you
has
can't
rules,
draw on
right?
the
Well, you
walls.
can't draw
Well,
on
your
the
daddy
walls.
went to
Well,
Germany
your daddy
and drew
went
on
to
the walls
Germany
with
and
Captain
drew on all the
America.
walls with Captain
And that was a
America. And that was
violation of Article 16,
Article 16,
paragraph 3
paragraph
of the
3 of the
Sokovia
Sokovia
Accords.
Accords. Now, as a part of his joint plea deal with Homeland Security and the German government, he was allowed to return to the U.S., provided he served 2 years under house arrest, followed by 3 years of probation, and avoid any unauthorized activities, technology, or contact with any former associates who were or are currently in violation of set calls to any related statutes. Okay, sweetie. So that's my favorite quote.
That's great.
And yeah, I think for me, I will still give this movie an 8. It's just based solely on the fact of there aren't many movies like this around. Like, this is reminiscent for me of the sort of the 90s, 80s type, like the Steve Martin family movies. So those, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I feel like those movies don't really exist as much these days, and I feel like this is that sort of a film, and that's why I still hold it very high. And saying that, I really feel like this will be the last time we see that. I feel like Quantum Mania is going to go a lot more in a different direction. But yeah, I give this a solid 8, and that is a reference to Grant Beckett, who likes to call out the fact that I give most films solid 8.
I'm going to mention this to them, and they're going to be...
Grant's going to flip.
Yeah. Actually, was that parallel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids intentional?
Yes and no. What do you mean?
Because they shrink.
Because it's Ant-Man.
Yeah. Like, yes, but at the same time, it does have the same family vibe. Like, yeah.
Nice.
If you took Michael Douglas out and put the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in
Rick Moranis,
would it be just as good?
I don't know. Oh, man.
I feel like it might be.
But it's even like, in comparison, like Shazam is supposed to be like the Big of superhero movies, but I still don't think Shazam captures the feeling that you get when you watch Big. So, but this film captures what you watch in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite games to play is hypothetical, take actors out of it and put new ones in and just think like what it would be like if
it'll be a very different movie.
Actually, the final bit, our end game, not the movie. I'm sorry, Grant, not the movie.
What? Yes.
So yeah. You're gonna have to Google this one potentially. Your righteous quote and Toby Maguire rating. Actually, while you're looking into it, do you want me to tell you what Fitzy gave this movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us their ratings and quotes. I actually don't have a quote.
Fitzy gave it a solid 8.
Oh
Chan,
my god!
I
I'm
think-
gonna find this bloke. I don't know where he lives, but I'm gonna find out.
I think Chan's was somewhere around 7. I don't know if it was 6 point or 7 point something. And I just gave it flat out 6.
Whoops.
I think Chan's quote was actually the one about the hat and the shades. How they
Oh,
make
yeah.
it. I think, like, I'm pretty sure we all chose just funny ones. I chose how when Hank was like, "This is my life's work," in regards to whether Scott destroyed the suit or not, and then I talked about how Scott says it again when he says he kept the suit, and it's like, "This was your life's work," so it was like a
Couldn't
tweet.
destroy it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my one.
What was your rating?
6.
Oh, sorry, you said sorry.
Yeah, a solid 6. Toby's out of Maguire's.
Maguire's. Oh God, I actually don't. Oh. I wasn't taking notice of quotes because I forgot that was one of the segments.
It could be yours. Could be Baba Yaga.
I might as well have said it enough times in this.
Oh, you know what? I heard stories like what happened to you.
Actually,
like
you know,
this
that
crazy creepy
scene
cat
is one of
walks
the
through
bits
walls
where
and
they
stuff.
do,
like a
where they
a
do
ghost.
like a good soundtrack.
Like Baba
Because
Yaga.
when he's explaining a story, they put like the Romanian music in the background.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga, the witch. They
Right,
tell
then what
stories
would
to
you-
children.
Oh, you-
fighting.
I'm just gonna, I was going to say the whole Baba Yaga story.
You know
That's
Baba
my
Yaga?
quote. The monologue.
Whoever stole it,
Not my rating.
we need to find it.
Oh, you don't find someone like that. They find you.
Purely for its entertainment value, I'm going to give it 7 Tobys out of 10 Maguires.
No, that's decent.
That's like 7 more than I expected.
Even when
Yeah, hold on.
I
It's
would've-
still better.
it was a
Still
zero.
better film than Far From Home, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
you
I've still
must
got, if you look at my
really
thing,
not
I've
like
got
Far
it
From
rated
Home.
out.
Yeah, you got Far From Home 17th.
Yeah. Where's Wasp?
13th.
See?
What's
Well,
in between?
It's still in your top 15.
Yeah, I don't know how. But anyway.
Well, he's got Thor: Dark World as 14, and Ant-Man 1 as 15, and Iron Man 3 is 16.
Damn auto pick.
Uh,
I
look
trust
at-
that auto pick system, bastards.
you had Ant-Man and Wasp 18th.
Wow.
Me?
Yeah,
I'd probably move that after watching it a second time.
right. Like before it, you have Iron Man 2, Captain Marvel, and Winter Soldier.
Oh, it's difficult.
I can't wait till like when we
I like them more.
pre-order
I don't know
these.
where to put it.
I think my reorder is going to be very different.
Yeah, so do I.
Like Endgame's going straight back to 14th. It's trash.
All your points on it just in the bin now. All right.
Come on, Grant.
did
What's
you have a
your
que-
rating?
and then-
No, I just listed a couple of pages of notes. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's only one that I actually remember. I looked up a couple on Google, but didn't have it. It's when I'm pretty sure he gives her the suit or something, like her suit, and he goes, "Oh, it has wings and blasts." And he's like, "Oh, what, you didn't have that tech available for me?"
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's actually pretty funny." It's
Yeah.
true, like but but I do like the quote about putting quantum in front of everything. That's pretty funny. But yeah, in terms of Toby's and Maguire's, look, I can't. It's a disabled film. I can't make fun of it. Okay, I'm going to give it a 5.5 Toby's out of 10 Maguire's.
That's still decent.
It's I can't.
It passes.
My hands are tight.
I think that's more than what I gave Guardians too.
Yeah, 5.5 Toby's out of like 9.2 Maguire's. We'll put it that way. We're going to change the game.
That makes it even better because it's not out of 10 anymore.
I know. That's why I'm just trying to be really nice.
Yeah, nice.
It gets its own rating system.
I'm really sorry. I've had no input to this podcast at all.
That's fine. I mean, it's still like a genuine review of what you thought of the movie.
I'm a filler in this series right now.
Grant is Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah.
I'm basically the Ant-Man and Wasp equivalent of an input.
The quotes you said were actually kind of significant though, because like they all. What was the first one? Oh, in regards to the wings and that, they just speaks Hank and Scott's like relationship.
Yeah, I know. It's
And
people love hate.
what was the other one?
The quantum one.
Oh yeah. Like that's
You brought it.
that's just what
That's actually pretty cool because
I think. Like Malika said it before, and I was saying it with the other guys. Marvel just kind of dodges going too deep into stuff because people don't really like. You kind of switched off, but then there are people who actually want it to be accurate. So like you can't really win. So Marvel just does what it does to move the plot along. It's always enough to move the plot along anyway. So
Yeah, they like chucking the words quantum and nano in front of everything,
nanotech,
or just using vibranium as an excuse for everything.
just like
Their
that.
three favorite.
They probably have like a physics thesaurus or something with them.
nano grilling.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for listening or watching, depending where you're seeing this. Yeah, we look forward to the second lull of these of the lull movies, which is Captain Marvel.
Oh, don't say that.
I have to watch it again. Who knows? Might change my mind. But yeah, looking forward to that. Hopefully you are too. Thank you boys for joining.
Just a spoiler, I saw Captain Marvel 3 times in the cinemas. Don't ask why, but
Were you drunk?
I had a drinking problem at the time.
Did you leave the cinema and just go in one after the other? That's the only way that I feel like you'd watch that movie 3 times.
Were you in the quantum realm? Too long?
Can I just say, it's just better to have all your friends in one group because otherwise everyone wants to see the same movie with you in different locations.
Actually, I get that. It's
I think you guys just have too many friends.
I've just got to limit it to the podcast.
I get that. It's just a shame that it's Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Shout out to Dax Griffin, who played younger Ant-Man.
Shout out to Dax Griffin.
Played who?
He played the younger Hank Pym.
In which?
In this one.
Which bit? I don't remember that.
Can I just quickly, I know we're finishing, but I want to call out that scene in the previous movie was done so well. And then in this one, they do the, Janet, no! And I'm like, why? Why would you put that in the movie? Bloody Dax Griffin.
Can we shout out Dax Griffin at the end of the podcast now?
Good old Dax Griffin.
Yeah, sure. All right. Thanks for watching.
Dax Griffin.
Lagged a bit there. You alright, man?
Oh, hey guys. Arm wrestle for the Tesseract.
I used to find you amusing.
Let's put an end to this!